What happens when we are out of touch with the times? All right, that is the question for today. Hope you're having a good one out there. My name is Thomas, and welcome to my channel. I do educational videos on many different topics, but right now we're kind of introducing the channel and laying the foundation for some of the future topics by studying Tree of Life. And the Tree of Life is an ancient diagram that we use kind of to map out consciousness. It gives you a map of our different states or different faculties of consciousness. It goes way back to at least ancient Egypt. The ancient Hebrews used it after that. And nowadays it's being used by occultists all over, as well as the kind of mystical Christians, mystical Jews, and many of them, especially the occultists, are of the evil variety. And so the Tree of Life a lot of times gets a bad rap as being satanic. No, it's just another piece of technology that you can use. It's your intention that determines the goodness or evilness of the Tree of Life. But anyway, what we use the Tree of Life for primarily, not only to defend yourselves from these attacks that you might get from these evil ones, but also in terms of laying a foundation that makes the future subjects that are going to be taught on this channel more accessible, more memorable, and more organized. So this is the Tree of Life right here. It's a model again of our faculties of consciousness. You can see that we have 10 different circles that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There is an abyss right here, which is an implied sphere or circle. And then there is a 0 above the tree. And so that is a total of 12 different categories, more or less representing 12 different faculties of consciousness. That is the kind of the major categories of the tree, and that is the by studying those, you will be able to be fluent with the tree and be have a beginner's understanding, a solid beginner's understanding. Now take it to another level, then you would basically just take the whole tree and you would shrink it down and you would apply it to each one of the 12. So you break down the 12 into its 12, and that makes a total of 144 different minor aspects, or what I call the stages of life, history, consciousness, and spirituality. Those stages are not so much chronological stages as they are dramatic. So these are all different dramatic stages that we go through. Now, I've compiled those in a list of 144 that I would be happy to share with you. If you click the link in the description, I'll send that out to you for free. So that's what we'll be covering at the end of the video, is one of those 144 different minor aspects. But for the bulk of the video, we're just going to look at the major aspects and make sure that you have some kind of grounding in understanding each one of the 12, the 10 spheres plus the abyss plus the 0. Okay, so start with 10. 10 is really our survival instinct. So this is, our wild animal consciousness. The law of the jungle, kill or be killed, our fight or flight response. It's also our life force that keeps us alive in spite of no conscious intent to keep us alive. So, our heart automatically beats and we automatically digest food. We automatically heal ourselves when we injure ourselves. Now, What we can do consciously is a negative tense sphere where we defile our bodies or lusts of the body that can kind of destroy our life force. So that also fits in here at the tenth sphere. Okay, now where the tenth sphere is like wild animal, the ninth sphere is like a domestic animal, where a domesticated animal in the home, growing up in the home, where we are a very young, the first 5 or 7 years of our life, where we're in the home and we are super highly receptive. Everything in the world is pretty much new and wondrous to us, and we have our caregivers in the home, people who are changing our diapers and cleaning us up otherwise and feeding us and providing shelter and clothing for us. We gain a level of devotion to them, and we really absorb as much as we possibly can from them. So we watch what they do, and then we eventually mimic what they do. We practice that mimicry. So we watch how our caregiver eats food or walks, and then gradually we begin to start learning how to do that ourselves by more or less practicing over and over again until we get it. Then once we get it, we memorize it. So that is really the process at the ninth sphere. The main problem with the ninth sphere is that the ninth sphere is blind, so it doesn't discern between good and evil. So it doesn't matter whether your caregivers are involved in abusive activities, destructive activities. You're still going to imitate them and practice their activities. Okay, now the eighth sphere is similar in that it is basically blind, but where the ninth sphere is about the domesticated animal, the eighth sphere is about the public space, going out into public. So this is what happens once you start to go to school, go to church, you go to the mall, you go to the rec center, and you interact with other people from other homes, from other domestic situations. And you kind of all, try to find this common ground or common denominators. And this is where like the institutions and the establishment comes in. This is where all of the expert opinion is, the conventional wisdom, the word on the street. This is our belief systems. These establishment people that have all the resources behind them, they tell us what we're supposed to believe, and they tell us how we're supposed to behave. So belief systems and logical thinking. Now, what happens with the eighth sphere is that the eighth sphere is a deceiver. It's a trickster. It's a distractor. So the eighth sphere is telling you what they want you to believe, but that may or may not be what is actually true. So we have our own experiences that we're coming into with this. And a lot of times what they tell us that we're supposed to believe at the eighth sphere is in direct contradiction to what we already have experienced. And so it creates this tension, because the eighth sphere is where all the resources are located also. So as you grow up, you have to be able to assimilate into the eighth sphere to a certain degree. But if you do it too much, you will kind of lose yourself, because the eighth sphere really has been inverted, and it's going to cause you to invert your eighth sphere as a result of things like circular reasoning, rationalization, making assumptions, using faulty premises to start your reasoning process. And so you end up kind of making excuses for the asphere where, okay, what they're telling me I'm supposed to believe flies in the face of what I already, believe, or what I already have experienced. But they must know what they're talking about. So I have to discard my own experience, my own truths in order to fit into this. But, in many cases, the consensus that's formed here at the asphere is a false consensus. They tell you that everybody knows that, but in reality, not everybody knows it. Only a small group of people actually really believe in this. So this is really like the emperor wears no clothes kind of situation, where everybody's telling you that the emperor's beautiful new clothes, are really worth seeing, but then you go there and the emperor is not wearing any clothes, and you're like, oh, well, I must be going crazy because I'm seeing it wrong, because everybody else is seeing it one way and I'm seeing it another way. So this is another fallacy of the asphere, where consensus is supposed to have something to do with the truth. The mere fact that everybody believes it does not make it true. And that has been shown over time, throughout history. So that's another fallacy of the asphere that kind of gets us caught into the asphere. The main trap of the asphere is that it's presented as being like the goal of life, the key to success, or the measure of success is that if you can get into the asphere, you can get into you get the best grades, you get into the best schools, you get the best jobs. These are all in the asphere, but that doesn't make you an evolved person. It may make you money, it may get you status, but it does not, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of spirituality, it doesn't move you forward. So what we have to do is we have to appease the asphere, get into it to a limited degree, and then move on, because this is really only our third stop in the evolution of consciousness. So we've got many more stops to go. So when we move to the seventh sphere, this is after kind of being in the asphere and recognizing that it's got major problems with it. And so where the asphere is about the real world, the seventh sphere is about the imaginary world. So you imagine a better way of doing, an alternative way of doing the asphere, and you work on expressing your imagination. So you got your imagination here at the seventh sphere. You also have inspiration. You have being able to follow others who have inspired you, role models who have done similar things, and then so you're able to stand on their shoulders and go even further. You have your intuition, which is really kind of an expanded version of conscience, where you are going inside and asking, is this the right thing to do? Is this a true thing to do? And how do I see it? How do I turn this into my my alternative? And the answers that you get from your heart inside are correct answers, but you have to be able to translate them correctly into your own language, and that is a faulty process. So you have to verify the intuitions you get as a double check on your intuition. You also have your creative faculties here, your ability to turn things into novelty, into new configurations, and also into pleasing configurations, like your pleasure principle. So you put all those things together and you come up with your creative product, your alternative to the asphere. And you could also think of this really as your sacred mission in life, or your higher calling in life, where the asphere is telling you that you're supposed to be you're supposed to be a nurse, or you're supposed to be a doctor, you're supposed to be a lawyer. They've got all the categories already mapped out for you. But here at the seventh sphere, you're trying to be like the very best version of yourself as an individual that you can be, the way that you can contribute the most to society in general and really the universe in general. And so that also requires a lot of intuition, a lot of digging into yourself to figure out, to come up with really honest appraisals of what you're really good at, what you're not good at, what you really enjoy, and then what are the problems of the world that I'm going after. So that higher calling is what really propels you to keep going up the tree to the higher, our higher aspects. So here we get to the sixth sphere, which is really where our center is located, our essence. You can see that the sixth sphere is really connected with everything else, and it's centrally located. And this is our free will faculty. Our free will faculty is more or less our ability to pay attention and to make decisions. Now, attention is a vector. Attention is a pointer. You point your attention at something, or you aim your attention at something. And so what we find normally is our attention has been pointed down here at the eighth and ninth sphere in particular, but also the 10th and to a lesser extent the 7th. But this is where we're pointing our attention. We're paying all our attention to these areas because this is our comfort zone. This is the matrix. This is what we grew up with. And so it's what we're comfortable with. Now, the other aspect of free will is our ability to make decisions. So we can make the decision to turn our backs on these lower aspects and to switch around and point our attention at our higher aspects. But this requires courage because these higher aspects are largely unknown compared to this, which is largely familiar. So you have to kind of embrace the unknown and turn yourself around, and then you point yourself at the next higher sphere, the fifth sphere. So your attention is now directed at the fifth sphere, which has to do with our sense of justice, our ability to be just with other people, and to be just with all other things. And our sense of justice can be also described as karma. Karma measures justice based on based on violence, violation, and waste. So when we are wasteful, that creates karma. When we are violent, that creates karma because they are unjust. And karma can be thought of as being like a mirror here. And so, it's cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. As you sow, so shall you reap. And what comes around goes around. And so when you are paying attention, though, you recognize that, hey, I did something and it was a violation. It violated somebody else. And as a result, I got something in return that reflected that. And I didn't like it. I could go blame somebody else for it, but ultimately it's my own responsibility. I created that situation. And so if I don't create that situation by violating others, then I won't get that in return. So you're able to start basically cleaning up your behavior, making your behavior more and more just by simply paying attention to your karma. So your karma is not your enemy, it's your teacher at that point. Okay, then we can move on to the fourth sphere, which is similar, but where the fifth sphere is the enforcement of the natural law and order of things. The fourth sphere is the enforcement of that law, the articulation of that law. And the articulation of that law comes in things like ancient holy books and also the cosmologies of scientists and theories of everything. They run from ancient to modern. Pretty much every civilization has some kind of form of cosmology. Some are more correct than others. The approach here is one of syncretism or synthesis, which is to really study as many of these cosmologies as possible. Don't just study one of them. Study as many as you can, and then you use your intuition to kind of take you the rest of the way. Along with your own experiences, you go inside and you ask, and you get answers in terms of how do I make sense of all these different cosmologies. The tree of life itself is to an extent a cosmology. It helps you integrate many different ways of knowing and ways of thinking about things, and to be able to come up with a unified picture. So that's what you're getting here at the fourth sphere. This is where we are really synthesizing the universals: universal law, universal love, and universal language. Okay, now the abyss is our psychic powers. This is our ability to tune into and recognize omens. Omens are synchronicities, things that buck the laws of statistics, that are way outliers in terms of statistics, and that register in your head as like, wow, that was really weird. That was uncanny. When you have that kind of reaction, you're turning on your psychic receptivity, the first part of psychic powers, which is just recognizing that was an omen. And the omen also contains in it a recipe for action, and that's your psychic heat, is to be able to act upon the omen. Now that again requires courage, because you have to be able to put yourself out there, because a lot of times other people are not recognizing that omen, and so it's like you are acting in response to an omen, but nobody else sees it. So it's kind of like your behavior can become quite irrational, or appear to be irrational. But that is the key to unlocking your kind of your psychic powers. Okay, then we have the 3, 2, and 1 at the top of the tree. These are our divine aspects within us. The 3 is our omnipotence, all-powerful. Omniscience for 2, all-knowing. And 1 is omnipresence, all-present, all at once, eternally. We tap into this through sound, and a particularly synchronized sound, through things like mantra, or drumming, or ecstatic dancing, and so sacred music. We can tune it listening or playing. We can tune into this, and what this does is it gives us the power, the potential to, it really gives us the potential to untap each one of the spheres. And what that does cumulatively is gives us the potential to fulfill our higher calling. So this is really how you kind of activate all the different spheres that are involved, so that you or unlock the different spheres that are involved, so that you can potentially fulfill your higher calling. Okay, then we also, at the second sphere, we have omniscience, all-knowing, or wisdom, our ability to solve problems, to solve others' problems, or provide solutions to other people's problems, and to also be able to even entirely avoid our problems. And we do this through like shutting our mind down and letting the image of wisdom come to us, by more or less clearing our mind so that it's transparent and we can see through to the center. That image is the image of wisdom. Unlike at the eighth sphere, where you solve problems by thinking. When you solve problems by thinking, it always creates unforeseen consequences. Like the head of the Hydra, you cut off one head and 2 other heads appear. But at the second sphere, you solve the problem completely with no residue. And that's by being able to see our higher self at the center of our being. And that is at the first sphere is the center of our being, and is really not only seeing it, but merging with the center of our being. And this is a unifying factor, because once we merge with our own center, we recognize that our own center is the same as everyone else's center. So we're all the same that way. And then the zero sphere above the tree is about being able to, it's about the mystery, and it's about nothingness. The zero sphere is not part of the universe, but it is part of the creator. So it's the part of the creator that's not in the universe. So we don't have direct access to it, but we have some kind of indirect understanding of it, because we have the ability to merge with the creator. Well, really to merge with our higher self. And our higher self is a part of the creator. Okay, so that is the basic principles of the Tree of Life, the 12 different major aspects. Now, today we were looking at number 80, and that's one of the 144 minor aspects of the tree. Number 80, what happens when we are out of touch with the times? And so number 80 has to do with the fourth sphere, and it has to do with the abyss fractal of the fourth sphere. So the fourth sphere is about cosmology. It's about theories of everything, and universal law, love, and language. And then the abyss is about our psychic powers, being able to observe and recognize omens. And so it's kind of like, and this is also our magnetic field. An omen is like a magnetic charge. And so it's that kind of wrapped up within, and the abyss also encompasses electric charges as well, although those are really like the fractals within the sphere. So we're really kind of talking about the electric charge within within this cosmology sphere. And so this number 80 is called A, radioactivity. Stage number 80 is about how atoms that are out of balance eject particles such that they lose their identities and become different atoms. An atom's instability is as a result of a change of environment, an inflow from regions of lower ionization level to or higher stability to a region of lower stability. The shear that results from trying to find its level in both space and time simultaneously literally rips the atom apart. And this is called the age limit of matter. The limit is 236 atomic mass units, but it can be higher or lower depending upon the ionization level or the stability level of the environment and the operation of probability. The equation is 2z, or 2 times the atomic number, plus the ionization level times the quantity, the atomic number squared, over something called the interregional ratio, which equals 156.44. A radioactivity transforms one element to another of a lower atomic number by discarding alpha particles, which are helium nuclei, or the unloading a waste product, like unloading a waste product. Thereby, the atom dies. Alpha decay is emitted like a ring around the equator of a spherical atom, much like a donut or torus, while beta radioactivity is like a jet directed toward the poles of the sphere. But since the atom is rotating and twisting constantly, both would appear to be a spherical distribution. The atom only has to throw off enough rotation to bring it back into the stability zone. The atom dies and is reborn over and over, a la reincarnation. Alpha radioactivity can and often does trigger a chain reaction that includes beta radioactivity interactions or triggers. Okay, so that is number 80, alpha radioactivity, which is the abyss fractal within the fourth sphere. We'll be talking more about that later. Most of the science that I'm getting from this comes from the reciprocal system of theory, or the reciprocal system 2, which is originated by a guy named Dewey B. Larson back in the middle part of the 20th century, and then updated by Dr. Bruce Perret, who just recently passed on. And they have a full-blown theory of everything about how things work. Larson has books on physics and astrophysics and chemistry and astronomy and psychology, dream interpretation, economics, and a lot of philosophy. And they all are based on the same theory. It's basically the universe of motion. So we will be getting into that much more as we finish the unit here on the Tree of Life and move into other subjects. Okay, well, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. You can click the like button. You can subscribe to the channel. You can make constructive comments. You can share the video with others. You can donate to me via Cash App or Venmo, that's listed in the description. And you can also get my free copy of the Guide to the 144 Fractal Faculties by clicking the link in the description. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow with another installment. And until then, have a great day.